Yes, and welcome back with another episode of Dance Gems. Today we are going to talk about transform your dance journey from follower to creator. Now, what is that follower and creator? Well, we'll talk about that, but we will never talk about that, of course, without my good friend Ton. Ton, are you there?
I'm there, Sean. Hello.
Hello, good to see you. And yeah, I came up with this topic about follower and creator. And often in dance we talk about lead and follow, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about how do you develop yourself from someone who follows what someone else is doing to someone who actually art dance is after all an art form to someone who creates. So what do you think? I think that
Yes, fantastic. You have to start somewhere, huh, Sean?
yeah,
When you start with dancing, and you start first at all, you start with following, and um,
yeah,
and
we have a
hopefully
yeah,
you
we have a
reach the creator side.
the creator side, yeah, not you don't have to go there, but you could go there, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So but let's yeah, that's where we often start. We see something, and then I'm purposely going to use a few words, and then we're going to give that a little bit of structure. Yeah, when you see something, and that's the first thing how we learn as infants, right? We mimic to what our parents do. So that's probably our first way of learning. You wrote in your book a gem. You wrote about that, right? Is that how it
Yes.
works, on? So
Yes. It's how it works. When you are small, you cannot speak. When you are, say, a grown-up child, baby, um, you cannot speak. And when you not can speak, you perceive the information through your ears and through your eyes. Everything what you received, you will
and touch, of course,
adapt it.
right?
Yes,
Touch,
yeah, and touch
yeah,
and touch. Yes, and
yeah.
this is why little children take everything in the mouth
Yeah,
because they want to feel it. They want
feel.
to
They want
touch.
to taste it. They want to
Yes,
smell
yes,
it.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very tactile way of learning, right? And then they start to.
Correct.
That's why our voices sometimes sounds like our parents.
Yes, and this is also why you have so many imitators with the voice.
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
they
So people.
follow the sound. They have empathy. How they must act.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they must act.
and this is what we actually learn already from yeah, from growing up as a young baby to an adult. This is the way to follow, and then sudden we get somewhere. We want to create it by ourselves. We want to think by ourselves. We want to develop by ourselves. But some people not never reach that point. So
Yeah, and then
yes,
you could
this is
you
how it
yeah,
starts.
yeah, we
Mhm.
can wonder as educators, we sometimes wonder why that is. Why are there so many followers? Some students, sometimes it's even, I notice, maybe it's not right, but I notice it's sometimes even cultural, where people say, well, you have to tell me first where I need to put my arm and where I need to put my head, and then I can. So there's almost a fear to do it different. Where is that coming from, Tom? When they have like a fear to do it different than I do.
Ah, I don't know how you call this in English. Power culture. There
Yeah,
is
power culture, maybe.
yeah,
Yeah,
there is a misunderstanding of you think that the teacher has always right, so you follow them, and also maybe you're a little bit scared to go against it, and this
or the
also
group, or the group.
or the
Yeah,
group, yes,
peer.
or the
We
group.
call it peer
It
pressure.
depends. It depends how the teacher teach or the
Yeah,
professor teach. Yeah, it sometimes you think, oh, they are so long in the business, they have so much knowledge, but don't forget you invest a lot in your life, and you are influenced by your how you
yeah,
say, your environment and the media, and but still try always to think by yourself. and what you perceive by yourself. And the perceiving, your eyes, your ears, your smell, your taste, tactile, you said, Sean, this is the way first to perceive the world and the information what you get. And ask always yourself the question, is that like somebody said it is? And this is how you could develop more quickly to a creator and to a developer, and to do more research and explore the world. This is what I would do. This is what I learned now the last 20 years. I'm get now 60 years old. So the other 40 years, I've I've followed, not always, but from instinct. Sometimes I was really some strange guy who was against it and tried to do some different stuff. But most of the time, I was not conscious about it, and I follow it. And with 30 years, I still believe the world is honest and help me and bring me to a next level of a dancer, but it wasn't. So after when I stopped with 34 years, I developed more and more and more as a developer, explorer, researcher. And I'm happy now that I ask myself always the question, is this like this what it is, what somebody tell? And you need a certain of knowledge to come to a creator as a dancer, but also as a choreographer, also as a teacher, me as a teacher, as a trainer. I need and to I need to gain information to come to that level to develop myself more and more and more. And it takes years and years to perceive it. I'm happy I perceived it. I get 60 and I hope to perceive more and more and more because I love my job. Hmm.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's a long talk, Tom.
Yes,
uh,
sorry, John. It's
it's okay.
again in English. You ask me a question and I go like hell. Sorry about that one, listeners. Okay, Sean, you can talk.
No, no. I think you mentioned a couple of things, right? There is definitely something, whether that's forced upon us or whether it's truly true. We probably will do another podcast. Is character, is that really something that we say character types? I mean, psychology writes a lot about there are character types, but there are certain character types, whether it's culture, whether it's maybe your parents. But I felt that I've been raised as a follower, but my other siblings had the same parents and they did not follow at all. So it's something in me made me always be a follower for a very long time. But at the same time, and this is where Tom and I had crossed our roads, so I was also born with a very curious mind. I always wanted to know stuff. I questioned about everything that they threw at me. Okay. So I became very quickly in young some sort of a little researcher. I questioned everything. But I also saw, maybe a little bit too long, the value in first really understanding what the other person was saying and what I was reading, and then I question it. I didn't question it without opening the book, by only looking at the title. That is, in my mind, maybe not always the wisest thing to do, or if you don't quite understand what the teacher is trying to explain to you. So I did that. Um, and then you said something else, that open mind and that research mind that actually made you aware of other things. And the last thing, I think that's the for me, I think also what we teach in Gem a lot is, know that you always have choices, and the more choices you know, the more choices you can make, and the more choices you can make, the more freedom you can take, and the more freedom you
Yes.
can take, the more you can create.
Yes,
We-
absolutely, Sean. And that's the beauty of it because you have only one life, one brain, one body, and that this is the really, really beauty of it. And I hope you will not, because also our culture in the Netherlands also, we learn to follow. We learn to follow. Maybe it's in America the same. I don't know, but we learn to follow our politics. We learn to follow our schools. We learn to follow um, our environment, our news, and sometimes
Yeah,
you can also ask yourself, is
yeah,
this like this? Do we must accept this like it is? Mm, that's
yeah.
a
Well,
tricky question. What you would say, Sean?
Well, strangely enough, I live abroad, and I worked practically my whole life, professional life, at least half of it, outside the Netherlands. So I do think that I can compare. I do think that in Dutch education we are more progressive, maybe than you think, compared to other people. So give this example. It has nothing to do with dance, but a lot of educational system is only about memorizing things. And if
Yeah,
you memorize things, you automatically also mirror things. I hope people can understand that logic, right? If you just memorize things, you just take over what you see. There's nothing to it. In the Dutch education, it could be much better, by the way, but much more developed. But at least there is an attempt in the UK and in the Nordic countries. There is a more questional culture, and there is actually in several topics there's done studies. For instance, in mathematics, the Netherlands, Finland scores number one, by the way, but Netherlands is in the top five because of students know how to ask questions. And so that's a good thing, right? Now, you and I like that also in our dancing, right? That people ask questions. I always say if you practice hard, you probably have questions. If not, you probably did only what I asked you to do.
yeah,
And so there's definitely cultural differences, but you see big cultures like China and Japan, they grow out of it. They were countries that followed. And if you think, for instance, now in engineering, China has taken the lead in the world. What they engineer, roads, bridges, is just
yeah. Cars also.
cars, amazing,
It's
amazing,
incredible.
amazing. So there is that same trend what you started to describe. There is something good in following first, understanding it, but then you need to find, with maybe a mentor more than a teacher, with maybe a mentor and a coach, you actually start to build in that you question and become a little bit more critical thinker, as I like to call it.
Yes, yes. Don't forget also when you start with dancing. I started with dancing. I never know what it was in the beginning, and I learned the steps. I followed the steps, and I had no doubt in the teacher that he wasn't great. He was great in my eyes, and from there, after years, I developed slowly, but I still was a follower. It, it takes when I started in with 14 years old. I followed at least till 26, 28 years old, something like that. So more of the half of the my professional career, I was a follower. And later I discover I could create, but I never somebody learned me how I can create because I didn't get the tools. And when you not have the tools, you don't
Yeah,
can make a choice.
good.
So we as a teacher,
Mm.
I as a teacher now give them tools,
Mm-hmm.
and from that tools we can practice these tools like straight lines and bent lines. I give just an example. Then we can practice it, but then they have a choice of two. Now when I give lessons before, it has to be straight. Why it has to be straight? Now I ask myself also that question, could it not be different? But now I will not say that it must be different. I let the choice by the artist. So, and to give them options, that's the most beautiful, what I think, what is, because I know I create something not unique, I cannot create, and I cannot learn them. I give them just information, and from that information, they can create, and then I see the real choice of that person and the beauty of what they created. And this is something what I try to develop more and more and more.
Yeah, yeah, I like to see it. I mean, we obviously, otherwise we would not be the dance gems that we think and many things alike and these things. But I, try to give it just a little bit different perspective for our listeners and viewers, of course. So I like to think about always knowledge, ability, and skills. I talked about that a lot, right? I make a distinction between these three. It often starts with knowledge. Uh, you
Can
know,
can you repeat it slowly again, Sean? You go so fast. I
yeah, I go
can
fast.
I can imagine that a perceiver on the other side
Yeah.
think, "Oh, what he
So
said? I have to do like a break
slow down.
and
Yeah, there's
slow
a
down."
button you can slow down the talking with me. But yeah, I always think about knowledge, ability, and skill, and we did a podcast around
Knowledge,
it.
ability,
Yeah.
and skill.
So if you know
Knowledge,
something,
ability,
ability
and
and skill.
skill.
So
Yes.
for instance, so we know that if you like to do certain movements, you need to have a certain flexibility. So that's knowledge, right? But to have the flexibility is that's the ability, and to do something in a movement with that flexibility, that's a skill. And so I see that more as circles, and then you deepen your knowledge, you deepen your abilities, and you deepen your skills, and then you but then there
Yes.
is a layer in between those. Then you can ask yourself, what can I do with these three things? And you
Yes.
ask yourself again, what can I do? And
Say
sometimes
say them say them again, Sean. I forgot them already.
knowledge, ability, and skill.
You have to practice these because when you not practice it,
Yeah,
it will
same
be
thing.
go out of your short memory.
Yeah, and so also even the gem starts with it. It starts from you know knowing things. It starts from thinking, right? Everything's and thinking does not exist without knowledge, and so you build up your knowledge. So you don't have to have all the knowledge in the world first and all the abilities in the world and all the skills before you create. You can create already with a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of ability and a little bit of skills. And then you deepen it. And in those layers, there is always a little bit of a form where you follow and imitate and mirror. And that's okay. And then you let it go again. And that's only to increase your knowledge, your ability, and skill. Like Tom did on purpose, he repeated the three words. It's just to make it deeper. Maybe I come up with three more words, and then we
Yes.
go again. Does that make sense? We call that with a fancy word. That's concentric learning. We go deeper and deeper into the matter of what we are teaching and learning.
Yes. Yes. It's also the short memory because the short memory is even shorter than the short is. It's maybe 1 minute, but if you practice it, then hopefully it go to the long-term memory and also in that body if you will practice it. But if you not practice it, yeah, you will not get to that point of to the long-term memory. And also this is important to get a creator because how more you understand and how more you practice that, how more you at the end can create.
Yeah. But there is one thing that I think we forgot to mention in specifically in dance. If we believe that there is only one end result, which some people call perfect,
Mm.
there is only one way to do a pirouette, or there's only one way to do a three-step turn, and that's the right way to do it. We get fixated to one point, and that almost kills immediately the creator side in you. If you believe
Yeah,
there's only
yes.
one way to go, that doesn't mean that there is not a way where Tom and I look who's someone doing a turn and think like, wow, that person has high skills. Doesn't mean that that person is creative in using the skills. Could be.
Yes. What I would tell then to them,
Hmm.
learn that one, the perfect one from the other side, what the teacher meant
Yep.
or the
Yep.
trainer.
Hmm.
But think, yes, I will learn that. But at the end of the tunnel, when I have the ability to do it, I create something different from it. And you manipulate what you learned, and then you have a control of it.
Nice.
And that's
Nice.
that's
I
the
like it.
beauty of it because this
Yeah.
gets the art of you.
Yeah.
It's like a painting you will make on that dance floor
For you.
when you dance there. So you learn all these skills. It's nice to follow, but actually you learn only from imitating and from the information from the one who give it to you. But the one who gives the information cannot learn you all the things. You
Well,
can only learn it by yourself and through that information. So again, if you have options and you have a choice,
yeah.
you and you have trust and guts, then you get a creator and learn
Well,
from
yeah.
others. Learn so much as possible also from others, but
Yeah.
create it by yourself. Yes,
Well, I
Sean,
think
you
I
can
think in
continue.
our in and not our is often when I say our, I have to excuse me because I have a very ballroom and Latin type of mind thinking. If I dance, that's the world that I'm coming from. Very often, what people don't see is that they make the imitation the goal. They say, I want to dance like a person X, the current world champion, whether it's Donny Burns, whether it's Michael Malatovsky. They think, oh, he's the champion. I want to do that. So they make imitation the goal. And even without knowing it, of course, I give my own flavor, but they don't see that they make imitation the goal. I,
Even the look, Sean,
even the
even the
look,
look.
yeah, so that
Yeah.
becomes the goal. And you could question yourself if you truly believe that that's what you need to do. That's fine. But you could question yourself if you add something to the dance world, if you imitate. I do think, by the way, Tom, but I think you meant the same thing. I do think actually that you can um, learn how to create with certain people around you. There are people who just, one of my teachers would ask me, can you do it again, but do it different? Can you do it again, but do it different? And is that and stimulate me in my creative thinking instead of saying, oh yeah, if you do it like this, then it's wrong. Even if I did it in a certain way, is that he would ask me, is that the way you wanted to do it, or did it just happen? And if it just happened, even then he said, oh, don't dismiss it. Sometimes when things happen, it could mean something. What's in the movement that you just created? So very much focused, one of my teachers, on creating not just from a free form, from things that we learned before. So we learned quality of bricks, but the bricklaying, what house you build, that's still up to me. But we looked at quality of bricks too. Um, so it's a balance.
Yes. What we sometimes not realize, Sean, is
Mhm,
that we have a unique DNA because
mhm.
each person has a uniqueness, and that's the DNA. But it's also your form of your body, the length of your body, the uniqueness of your brain, because no person in the world is the same. Also, the knowledge, what we build up when we have two twins from 60 years old and they grow up, they think different, they feel different, and they perceive the world different, and they have also then a different, how you say, knowledge in them. And the outcome of it will be probably also different. But when they dance together, then you can see two twins. They look the same, they practice maybe the same, and the outcome looks almost the same, but there can be not identically exactly the
Identically.
same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the question is, of course, do people truly want to be the same? If you look in the world, a lot of people they might say they want to look different, but they just they like to be the same. So there is something in being connected to a group, and I do understand that, right? So if you want to do a competition, you want to put some rules around it, and when you put rules around it, you very quickly already get that everything points to a single point. This is the only way to do it, and specifically people who believe they know the rules better than other people. So in we
Maybe
have a
they
we
are inspired, Sean,
yeah, who
to
knows?
them. I don't know what the reason is why
Me
the
either.
look they
Me
say
either.
I want to be the same, but still they
Well,
look like the other ones.
and then they say, and then they look, and then they say all say now we want to be all different. But if for me, when I come into let's say a Latin dance competition, because I know so much about it, I see these differences. But when I take friends to them saying, no, you need to come, they probably would say they look all the same. All these guys have a black suit on, and yeah, maybe
Yes,
one with
yes, yes, yes.
short sleeve, and the other one, and all these girls have scantily clad clothes, and maybe pink and gold, but it doesn't really matter. It's all the same to me. So different, being different and being the same is also a nuance. It's a huge nuance from an outside perspective. In the beginning, everything looks the same, and then when you go deeper, you see the nuance. So I always say with distinctions comes mastery.
Yes.
So
But you tell it
yeah,
already many times. It's not about what you're doing, but
so
how you do it.
it's how.
And that makes the difference.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
how you can do something different. I give you one example, maybe listeners, because when I'm standing on the dance floor and I wanted to start, and everybody start at the same time, almost the same time, and I wait extra 5 seconds and I stand still. And then I look around and then I stand another 5 seconds still. I know sure that many of the perceivers or viewers or audience, how you want to call them, will be confused. And then I have my attention point. So for my awareness, I created that. But if you have not the guts, the strength to do that, yeah, you will follow the mass. And the mass is everybody starts, I start. The DJ stop the music, I stop.
yeah,
That's that's not creating. That is following the music, following the instruction of the MC. And if you on, I know you want to be polite and follow the mass, but if you are still get polite and you are on that floor, on that competition floor, then you make not the difference, in my opinion. And when you are in the company on the stage, it's about what you what is how you look, how you behave. And if you go from the floor and think, oh, I did now my work, I would ask yourself a question. Did you enjoy that work? Have you showed that work? Is it your passion what you showed, or is it your work what you showed? That's also a difference. And people who are in that room, they will feel that, they will perceive that, how much love you put in it. And sometimes when I'm in a company, Sean, I will be honest, I don't see creators, I see machines who do their work, but not that. That's maybe a harsh example, but I go many times to the theater. I want to see the uniqueness of that person, what they want to give to me, what they create from what all they have learned and followed.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But professional or high level amateur dance could be sometimes very tedious. You put hours on the floor to practice it. So yeah, I like it. You always need to check how motivated you are, and is it still the thing that you love to do. Creation has a lot to do with putting passion and love in there, bringing something unique. But creation has something for me, and I know this is all philosophical talk. You don't have to agree with me, audience, or not. But for me, creation has also something to do with both doing what you want yourself, but also what you could give to the audience. The
Mm.
audience doesn't have to agree with what you do. If you only dance to seek compliments what the audience do, you're still a little bit of a follower. If you want to
Mm.
do what they do. But if you surprise them, right, and it could sometimes be this surprise, but it could also be like this surprise, you're probably on a path of creation.
Yeah,
If
brings
you're
me on an idea, Sean.
yeah.
Because you get choreographers in the companies on stage,
Hmm.
but they follow the choreography of that choreographer. This is why we have so many choreographers, and they follow the pattern what they give. And sometimes they not get the free interpretation of that choreographer. Depends
Yeah,
also on the people who give it. So think by yourself,
of
have
course.
I space or room to interpret that choreography? And when it's not allowed, you get in a corset there. And this brings also not the uniqueness there, because the choreographer maybe not realize that correct is not correct, give certain freedom of interpretation. But this is a personal meaning from myself, Sean.
Opinion, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Everybody can see this differently.
Oh yeah,
It's okay.
of course.
No,
No,
no, no problem. But I don't have to watch to it.
no, no. We don't. We definitely don't. We can still go away, but it's so I work now with a very small beginner group of dancers, but they still would like
Mm.
to do a formation dance, which is great. I mean, I love to work with them. It's a lot of energy, and they afterwards said, "Oh man, Jean, you're such a great choreographer." I know in my mind, I just put defined figures just in a different order. For me, that has hardly to do anything with choreography. Although you need to be inventive with it, and then we give a
Yes,
little bit
absolutely.
of of things to it, and then the reaction is that real samba? I said, wow. It's like, see, no, because we learned that's not how you do a botafogo. Is that now what you call choreo, creative freedom? I said, yeah, that could you could use that. You could also say that's called dance. So it is also, you see, Tom. It has to do with a certain level of students. Of course, it has something to do. What do they know from the background, and what has been told to them. You and I perfectly know. Don't think that I don't know exactly how a Botafogo is described in the defined figure book, because we both did exams to it. I can do it exactly, and I can do it too. I teach it still, but I always ask them, what kind of variations can you make on this? And it confuses them, because they say, first tell you how this must. I said, no, I never said this is how you have to do
Yes.
it. I
But
say, this is how.
I can imagine that it confused them. You know why?
Yeah,
Because
tell me.
maybe they learn to follow, and they are scared. They are confused because they think there must be a right way to do it.
I think
But
so.
actually,
I've not
there
been in those
is.
lessons. Yeah, I mean, and you and I have been enough in the other lessons to actually know. But I try to keep it always open. I think the question is, make it your own. What can you else can you do with it? What does it mean? So give you another example on the samba. It's there is a timing that is suggested by the author of the book, three quarter quarter one. You don't have to follow me now if you don't, but you know but if you cannot do a three quarter quarter one, then half one is not a choice. You just half one because you couldn't do the ability of following the timing. And there is a difference in creators who can do all these things and they consciously made a different choice.
Yeah,
That's
yes, yes,
different than just I did something different because I couldn't do the other thing. See,
yes. But you could do also, you do it in slow motion and you do not
I like
double
that.
so long, you
For
do it
instance,
triple so
you
long.
do it
Uh,
triple so long.
yes, then you are not in the two quarters of
No,
a say you would do a movement in two beats.
yeah.
No, you do exactly the same movement in three
Mm.
beats or
But
in six.
yeah, but that's your
Yes,
creative mind, right? So we talk
yeah,
only about, those are in total three steps that you take, and we have three counts that we can follow or not. And we already come up with I don't know how many variations, not even talking
yes,
about all our body parts. So coming back to how do you teach people then more becoming more a creator is learning things from the ground up. There
yeah,
are
yeah,
only
yeah, yeah,
three
yeah, yeah,
types of
yeah.
movement, as Ton always say: bending, stretching, and rotating. And how many combinations can you already find with 10 body parts, knowing that you have only those three to do? I'm not even talking
Mhm.
about fast, quick, slow, heavy, and all that kind of stuff. I'm just saying how many combinations could you already come up with, which
Yes.
is just a
So yes, I have one example for that one.
yeah.
I had a beginner's lesson,
Mm-hmm.
and I put my beginners and more experienced dancers in one group.
Yeah.
And I give them options, or you can do it like this. So I give them one figure, and I learn them also to get out of the beat so that they are not on the beat, but I make it more exciting between the beat. But one of the couples who was experienced came to me and he said, I'm so confused.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't say it to me. No, he wrote it in the letter, in the email, and said, I stopped with the lesson because the
Mm.
lessons are too confused for me.
Yeah.
And actually, I was agree with him, but with him, I had to think a few days why he stopped with it. And after I know the reason why he stopped. Not because he was confused, he was scared to get to me because I'm the teacher, so he have to follow, and it must be exactly like that. And I said, sorry, I didn't think about to give you context. So now each time when I say you can do it like this or that, then one group I say you can follow exactly like this, nothing wrong, but for the one who want to interpret it, has more freedom. So now I learned by myself also on that age to give context. You can follow it, but you can also create it. And this is the nice thing. Now he came 2 weeks ago to me and he said, thank you very much. The lessons are so much more fun. Now I understand that I can follow it, and I take this part from the lesson, and the one where you give freedom, I stay with the following, and I have so much more fun now, so I stay with the lessons. So I'm so
That's
happy,
good.
so I could
Yeah.
bring somebody on a different idea now.
Yeah, that's definitely good. I mean, I could definitely take something from it. I remember, I think I told you that it's already 2 months ago when I did a lecture on movement and music, and I asked the students just, can you dance what you hear? And there was one person who said, no, you have to tell me what I need to do and what dance it is. I said, to be honest, I don't even know what dance this music is. I know what I could dance on it, and you could call it a cha-cha or whatever. I said, but it doesn't really matter. I said, just no, no. I said, so later on, I noticed there was so much fear and there was so much education in the person that she wants to do something correct, to hear from a teacher that there is no such thing as correct and incorrect. I needed to give that a little bit more context. Why I said that, because
Yeah.
that is not what they hear from most people, and I don't. Yeah, so because they if often hear, if you don't do it like this, then it's not a cha cha, and yeah, you and I are allergic for those words, but we
Mm,
need to give it a little bit more context. So thank you
yes.
for that lesson. Otherwise, we
Yes,
we
that helped
mm,
me a lot, Sean. Now the one has more fun for the
Yeah,
lesson, and I
yeah,
know, okay, I learn
mm,
also something to
definitely.
follow my student,
Yeah,
because when I stay only in the creating, and I think,
same thing.
yeah, yes,
Yeah,
so
same
it's
thing.
it's vice versa.
Yeah.
So I listened to them, and I learned, and now he stay on the lesson, and I'm so happy that they stay on the lesson and that they have fun. That's the most important of it, to have fun.
Yeah, and of course it is fun, but I call myself a teacher or an educator. I always want to teach people. That's the nature of a teacher, of course, and in that I would love to see them progress. They almost cannot escape that they think I have certain expectations of that progress, but progress comes in so many different forms and flavors that if I see more freedom in the movement, there's always something weird with beginners. Beginners cannot follow, and then you want to help them to follow first. Just what I do, just do what I do, and I told them, there comes a point quicker than you know that I just say, you don't have to follow me anymore. And but I think that's where a lot of people stay also in, you have to follow what I do, and please
That's
don't.
beautiful, Sean. I say also in a different way. I say to them, um, I hope there will come a time that you not need me.
Yeah, yeah, that's. But do you see, Ton, sometimes that, I mean, it's just because I can't not say it in a different way. I do feel sometimes that some students too quickly uh, stop with studying and saying, "Hey, I can figure it out all on my own." So they don't find a balance between study and creating, and study and creating, that it comes to together. You cannot just. y-
I don't. I think the world is so big, Sean, and the knowledge what is there is so huge. I think you could do it alone, but maybe you need a sparring partner or somebody where you
Yeah.
can who can support you and help you and ask you with questions. Is it like that, or what you want there? So I still think you need somebody to support you, but I don't think it's not necessary to have 20 teachers. But what I believe is travel in the world around, go to the places where you can learn certain methods, certain ideas, and try to follow that. But still, when you go home, make your own thing. Have
Yeah.
your main teacher, your main
Coach.
there, but you the coach. But you need also somebody who is specialized on that one. And what I know now from experience, um, there are not enough teachers who go on that path. The most teachers, and that's a pity, they make a follower from you. And I don't know why they do that. It sounds harsh now what I tell, but think about, give them options, let them create, let them also smell or take knowledge from other people. And
Hmm.
yes,
Yeah. I think it
yeah,
starts. It needs to start very young to teach students, children. Actually, we don't even talk about children yet. Students yet. They most of children are born with a very creative and open mind.
yes.
And so remember that example that I gave, that I was in Poland and I was working in mathematics with this professor, and then his grandchildren, he had a beautiful home, his grandchildren came running in, and they say, "Grandpa, grandpa," and he asked me, "Are you disturbed by those children?" And I wanted to say yes, but I didn't dare. So I said, "No, no, 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 it's fine."
You follow
And,
him. You
and
follow
I
him.
followed him, and then they start to yank on the piano, which was
You
horrible.
told that story last time in the
Yes,
podcast. Yes, I
and
remember
then
it.
and I say, when is he going to say that they shouldn't do that? So I was a little bit in that follower mode, and then his wife, or the mother of the children, I forgot, but doesn't really matter, said, "Stop making that noise," and he said, "Don't do that." He said, let them play, but let's, give them a little bit of rules. Said, why don't you guys just for 5 minutes do what you want, and then later on, when I'm done with this gentleman, we can play some more. It was brilliant, and I thought, like, yeah, that's actually, if I already, but the mom said that is not music. That's what he was actually upset about. This math professor. He was professor of mathematics. He said that's our definition. That's not their definition. And I was thought that was brilliant. I was like, okay, I already had a dancer mind. I said, like, oh my gosh, that is brilliant. We
Yes, yes,
don't immediately put those cadres around it. But if we do, that's your lesson too, always, Tom. If we do put a cater around it, then we do it with a context. We just never
yes, yes,
say it is because I say so, or it's written in a book. We put it in thing. Hey, if you want to do this competition, I'm sorry, it's a 2 minute dance. You you have the only freedom that you have to now is to stop after a minute. Not smart,
yes,
but
yes.
so
What is,
that's what I learned from
yeah,
that thing.
perfect.
Yeah. So
Beautiful. You know what it also is, Sean? It's not only in dancing, follower
of
creating,
course, it's
but it's
everywhere.
also with writing. When I do an
Everywhere.
email, why I must do always with best regards, be unique and say maybe thank you for your help and hope and love to hear more from you. Ton.
Yeah. No one say best
My name
regards.
under it. So it's already different. Then maybe you will read or write, no, read the letter, and before you wouldn't, because um, it's everybody starts the same and ends the same. But if you are not a follower and a creator, you could begin differently and end differently in a letter. And the same with singing and with other sports, when it's not about sport, about when you have a football player, you have to be also creative. You cannot only just follow the system, because otherwise
Mm.
everybody would know your tactic. So
Yeah.
you have to be creative to
Yeah.
keep the ball. Yes, and
Yeah.
experience also, Sean.
But I think a lot of creators, and without using the subjective word good creators, but I think, that a lot of creators, they actually know the techniques to the letter almost. They could create exactly like someone else would create, they just choose not to. And I think that's where the main difference is. Um, don't be only different to be different. That no, that's some sort of a following in my mind too, actually. It is try to add value, try to add something new, I try to add creativity, bring something. But I know you and I super enthusiastic about this topic. It will come back, but we are unfortunately at the end of the show. Tom, do you want to leave our listeners and viewers with one last little bit of your wisdom?
Yes, think always by yourself, perceive the information always by yourself. And if you have question, ask the question. Don't wrote letters with "I will stop with it" without context. So ask the teacher, and then maybe the teacher can give you some advice. Hopefully, when
Hopefully.
not, it's also okay. And but still think by yourself. And if you are happy with the answer, so both learn from it.
Yeah,
Also,
beautiful.
the teacher learn from it. So perceive and don't you let not to get too much influence from the outside of the media. Think always by yourself. Maybe not listen to the news. That would help too. Sorry,
Maybe.
guys. Yes,
Okay, that was good, Tom. All right, that was another episode of Dance Jams. Right, today we talked about transform your dance journey from follower to creator. Now two creative minds together, you get a very unstructured but hopefully very exciting
No, it wasn't
episode of Dance
unstructured,
Gems.
Sean. It was creative. It was
It was
creative.
creative structure. Another episode of Dance Jams. We'll be back with another topic, or maybe we go deeper into this topic. Who knows? But I hope we
Yeah.
see and hear you soon again. Ton, as always, it was my pleasure. I'm starting
Yeah.
the
Thank.
music, and we say bye bye to all our friends all around the world.
Bye
But
bye.
bye
Till
bye.
next time.
Till next time. Yes, and you can find us on Spotify, dance-gems, or on YouTube at Ton Greten /podcast. Or you can also go to our own website at gem.dance/podcast. And on many things more like Spotify and Apple and what have you not. With that, I say bye bye and see you next time.
Bye bye.